Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I hope you're all having a really good morning. The sun is out, alhamdulillah. And obviously, the topic we're talking about isn't the brightest of topics, but it's a very important topic for you. Very important because every one of us has experienced either losing somebody who we love through death, or if you haven't, then maybe you know somebody who has, but also just to be prepared. So in all ways that we look at it, it's a good topic. Like I say, it's not a bright topic, but it's a topic that we all need. And at the moment with COVID and how many deaths there have been, it's almost like every other household has been impacted. If you haven't been impacted, maybe your relatives have. If your relatives haven't been impacted, then maybe some friends or someone you know in the community. So just understanding about, so bereavement means death. Okay, that's what the word bereavement is. And if you are the bereaved one, that means you've lost somebody to death. Okay, so I'll try my like level best to really explain all the technical terms and just keep it all in really simple language. And I'm sure you'll all have an opportunity at the end to ask some questions, inshallah. Okay, wrong way. Bismillah. Okay, so the obviously first slide is every soul shall taste death. This is an ayah from the Quran where it's almost like Allah prepares us that before we forget, we all are going to taste death. So it also sets us up for life, knowing that what my purpose is, that one day I will have to go back to Allah. One day my parents will have to go back to Allah. My brothers, sisters, my aunts, my grandparents, it sets us up for that. So it's not like, oh, nobody told me that. I didn't know this was I didn't realize this was going to happen to me. So it's beautiful how Allah prepares us. And it also puts into perspective that everything that we have belongs to Allah. Okay, so you must love your parents dearly, your siblings, your brothers, your sisters. I mean, I know they can be annoying most of the time. Your grandparents or anybody. Maybe there's an aunt or an uncle, a favorite mamu, chachu, popo, khala that you may be very close to. But we have to keep in mind that one day, everybody will return back to Allah. So, like I said, it then doesn't make us feel like, I mean, I know some youngsters who've been really upset and have said that, why did Allah take my dad away from me? Or why did Allah take my mom away from me? And, like I'm upset with Allah. But to be honest, nothing belongs to us. So neither our parents, neither our friends, our brothers and sisters, no one belongs to us. So we need to be prepared for that we will lose them, whenever that time comes. And it's not just we will lose them, we will return back to Allah, because this is who we belong to, inshallah. Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. I'm holding this the wrong way. Okay, so the way how we respond to a death, when there's been a death in our family, will depend on who you've lost. So just to understand that if I've lost somebody I'm very close to, I might be feeling extremely sad and, beyond myself and crying relentlessly. But then other times I may lose like somebody else in the family and I'm not crying so much. So the way we respond to the death usually depends on who we've lost. So don't ever feel that every death you'll be responding the same way. It all depends on, like I said, that who you've lost. And the grief of it can affect you in different ways. So it can affect you physically. And when I say physically, you may notice that your body is hurting because you're so sad. You've got headaches, you're feeling sick, you've got a stomach ache. It could affect you emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, socially. So emotionally, psychologically, you may just be so sad and feel like I can't even I don't know what's going to happen, like that now that this person has died and left my life. Or you may feel like disconnected from your friends. You don't want to talk to your friends. You don't want to turn on the TV and watch those favorite programs you used to watch before. You may not feel joy in anything, but that is all okay, because that is part of the grieving process. So grief is the response to the loss. Okay, so grief is all those feelings, inshallah. So like I said, it will depend on who you've lost. The way your feelings are will depend on what that person meant to you. Not always what that person meant to you, but how close you were to that person. See, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm sorry, guys. Down, I need to press. Okay, so when when somebody dies, it's not just that person that we lose. For sure, we lose that person. But I want you to think of it a step further, that with that person, we lose so many other things. So that person may have been the person who made me feel safe. It may have been the person who always gave me money, for example. It may be the person who every Eid, they gave me the most Eid. It may be the person who, when I was sad, I could just go to and they would just listen to me, and they wouldn't tell anybody. That person may be the person who, makes you feel like as if you're the most wonderful person in the world. So when that person with that person goes all these feelings as well. That feeling of safety and love, and the person gave me the most Eid, and the person who made me laugh, and the person who would take me out for like a milkshake or something, or to treats or something. So all these other feelings come with it, and they are also losses. You've lost all that with that person. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because you may feel that it will help you understand all these feelings are coming up, and like, why am I missing this person so much? Why am I being selfish that I'm missing that? Oh my God, this person's not going to be there next season. That was the person who gave me the most money. No, you're not being selfish. These are all healthy feelings, and you are allowed to feel them. So, don't let anybody make you feel that you should be feeling a certain way and not another way. Because with death, a lot of other things go with it. And, death generally can fracture a family, the whole structure, especially if it's a closed death like a mom or a dad. It can just make that whole, everything was fine. There was peace in the house, or there was comfort, and there was mom and there was dad, or there was, uncle, auntie, grandma, granddad. And now I don't have that. So it can really, shatter families. And I've experienced death. I've experienced death with my parents. So when I was 6 years old, I lost my father. And that's a very young age to lose a father. You just about, get to understand who your parents are. And then before I knew it, there was no father there anymore. And then I lost my mum like over a decade ago. So I've experienced very close death, and I know how it feels. And it's not a pleasant feeling. And like I said, with that person goes all these other things as well. So the symptoms of grief, just so you know, that if you think, why am I feeling like this and why am I feeling like that? Look at all this list of symptoms. So, you may have difficulty sleeping. You may start questioning like, why? Why has this happened? What's the point of me living? Why has Allah done this to me? These kind of beliefs can come about, these kind of like questions can come about in your head. Feelings of detachment where you don't want to do anything. You don't want to eat your favorite food. You don't want to watch your favorite program. Nothing seems interesting. You don't want to chat to your friends because, you're too sad at the moment. There may be some abnormal behavior. You may suddenly feel, like, what do you call it? Anger and frustration. You want to feel like you want to go and kick something, which is fine. Go and kick a ball, but that's normal. Worry, anxiety, crying, headaches, frustration, guilt. You might feel guilty about something. Maybe because the last time you saw this person, there may have been like something said that, or you didn't say bye-bye properly, or you were supposed to meet this person and you kept planning, I'm going to go and meet my uncle or my auntie or my grandma or whoever it may be, and you didn't get around to. So you may even feel a bit of guilt. Fatigue, which means tiredness. You may just be extremely tired and feel like doing nothing but just be lying on the sofa all day. Anger, which I've already mentioned, loss of appetite, aches and pains, and stress. Stress, obviously, for youngsters will manifest in different ways. So, if you've got things going on at the same time as school, it's exam time or something, you may feel the increased stress and pressure because you're not able to cope. Okay, so I want to share theory with you. This is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's grief cycle, and the reason why I want to share this, it just gives you an idea of how long it can take for somebody to go through grief. Because if we want to put a time to it, like how long will it be till I feel better? I've lost my grandma or my uncle, auntie, my mom, my dad. How long will it take for me to feel better? The thing is that this doesn't mean that this is exactly the order you will go through, but it sort of gives you an idea of what can happen. Like at the beginning, you may be in denial. And denial is healthy as well, because it helps us cope with all those overwhelming feelings at the beginning. When someone just sits there and they're in shock and they're like, I can't believe this person's died. And they may be in denial for a few hours. It may take like a day or two. And that's okay, because like I said, denial isn't a bad thing. It helps you cope with all those overwhelming feelings slowly, okay? Because you may not be able to cope with them all in one go. So denial is okay at the beginning. Don't ever, like I said, feel like, oh, should I be feeling like this or should I not be feeling like this? There may be anger, like why did this happen to me? I don't want it to be like this. Life is never going to be the same. And there's a stage of bargaining where so obviously these are like stages that you'll go through, and not everybody goes through each stage, I'll be really honest. But the reason, like I said, I put it there is for you to get an idea of the kind of stages we can go through. You could be in some of these stages for days, weeks, and sometimes even months. So bargaining is you're feeling overwhelmed and helpless, and it's just too much. And that's probably the lowest point you get to. And then there may be some feelings, some depressive feelings, really sad, extreme sadness, not liking anything. You wake up and every morning everything feels the same. That feeling that I'm feeling where I can't eat, I've constantly got a headache, I'm tired, it's not going. So we can go through that stage as well. And then finally you come to a point of acceptance, okay, where you understand that, okay, this person has gone, and like I said right from the beginning, to put things into perspective, is that we accept that this is Qadar Allah, and this is what Allah has told us as well. So another theory that I want to share with you is called a dual process model, and this is when, and I think this is more realistic, and I really like this as well, because it's so there's two positions that we may have, and I'm sure you can identify with this. One is loss orientated, where we feel like, I just want to be with my sadness, I just want to cry, I don't want to do anything new, I don't want to move on, I just want to just sit it and keep thinking about this person. I want to keep looking through photos, and I don't want to feel like getting on with life. And then parts of the time you may feel like on the other side, which is the restoration orientation, which is where you feel like, actually no, I want to get on with things. I want to talk to my friends, and I want to be able to get on with my schoolwork and study, and I want to get start watching this program, or I want to do this, or I want to go out and I want to join the football club again, or the swimming club again. And you will notice that you will So oscillates meaning you will move between these two positions, and that is perfectly normal. Okay, so don't feel that. How come is it that 1 minute I'm feeling really, really sad, and the feelings are too much, and next minute I feel like getting up and going outside and playing, and or being with my friends or going out for a milkshake? Why is it? Am I supposed to, is this bad? Am I supposed to just stay on one side, the loss orientation? Am I not supposed to feel normal yet? There may be feelings of guilt coming. Am I doing this too soon? No. Especially for youngsters, I think it's normal just to be moving from both of these positions, and that's okay. Okay, and also the fact that girls and boys, you will handle death differently. Okay, so you will take these, you will move in these positions differently, and I'll obviously explain on the next slide. So knowing that it's okay for me to feel very sad, very low, wanting to cry, and the next minute I want to go outside and, like I said, kick a ball or something, and I feel okay. I want to, go and eat my favorite food or something. That I'm feeling okay, and that's okay. So I'm going to move on to the difference in how men and women grieve, which is also, shall I say, difference in how boys and girls grieve. So you may be grieving different to your brother or sister, and you may even notice that between your parents, the mum is grieving differently and the dad is grieving differently. Did you know this is absolutely normal? And I feel that it's from Allah's divine wisdom and perfection, that mashallah, that we grieve differently, because then we can support each other. Okay, so you notice that. So this slide I was saying, so girls will, hold on, never gone. Right, sorry guys, going too far. This is the right way. So girls will usually hold this position of the loss orientation, where they feel like they just want to grieve. They want to keep going over things again and again. It's almost like want to join the jigsaw puzzle. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And their emotions are quite like stronger, or shall I say obvious, while boys very easily want to just go out and carry on, go out and meet their friends, and go out and football or cricket or whatever they like doing. So it's good to understand that it's normal, just in case you think, oh, I don't think my brother is grieving properly, because he just seems to have carried on. He's out with his friends or something. Or the brother may be feeling that I don't think my sister is coping very well, because she seems to be extremely sad. But the point of telling you this is to help you understand that this is normal. So boys and girls do grieve differently, and that's perfectly fine. So same you notice in your parents. You may notice that mum is crying a lot over a death of somebody, and she's really sad, and she keeps looking at the pictures and keep talking about the memories, while dad just went to work in after like 4 days or 3 days. And you may be thinking, like, how selfish is dad? He just went to work and mum is really feeling it. But no, this is normal. This is men's way of grieving, and this is a woman's way of grieving. And for you lot, the way you can support your siblings or even your parents. So if you are the boy, the way you can support your sister or your mother or aunt is that you could be the one telling them, let's go out, let's do something. Because boys are the doers, right? And for the girls, you could be the one saying to your brothers, like, or your father, do you want to talk about how you feel? So it's almost like, if I go back again, no, sorry, we're gonna have this problem all day. So for the girls who are in that loss orientation, you can bring your brothers there and say, how are you coping? Are you feeling sad about this? What kind of feelings are you feeling? And for the boys who are in the restoration oriented, can bring their sisters there and say, should we go out? Let's watch something. Let's go out. Let's go for a walk in the park or something. So you can help each other and you can support each other in this. So it's not, don't misunderstand your brother or your sister or your mum or your dad or your uncle or your auntie, because of the way they are grieving, this is normal. And boys usually will feel it more in their body or in their legs, and girls will just, feel it here, right here in their chest. They're just feeling really, really sad. Okay, so how I, as a young person, may grieve differently. Okay, so for a start, you need to have, for you to understand what's happening, like who's died and how this is making me feel, or how did the death happen, you need to have the same truth as everybody else. Okay, because what you don't know, you will make up. And I used this example before, and I'll use this example again, is that when I was 6 years old and I knew, I felt that my father was going to die because he was in hospital, and I just sort of caught family crying, and I was seeing furniture being moved. So I obviously, as a 6-year-old, knew something bad was going to happen. So I was upstairs and I started crying. I was sitting on a corner just crying. And I remember my uncle walking past the door to go into the bathroom to do wudu. And he asked me, like, why are you crying? And, he goes, there's nothing to cry about. Because he was trying to, like, protect me. He goes, go outside and play with everybody. So because I didn't know what was going on, I made up things in my head. So, don't take yourself to the position where you're going to make up things in your head, because that's dangerous. I had horrific images in my head, which weren't the case. And I wasn't there when my father died. He died in the hospital. I'm sure he had a peaceful death. But I had to, in my head, I had all these horrific images of all these pipes and tubes out of here, him struggling to breathe, because I was a child. And that's what I thought was happening to him. And, Inshallah, that didn't happen to him. I'm sure it was a peaceful death. But what I don't want you to do is to make things up. I want you to go to an adult. For example, if you feel like your parents are too sad, go to an auntie or an uncle, somebody you trust, and say, I need to know, I need to know what's happened. Who's died? How did they die? Ask your questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If there is something like in your mind where you think, but, I saw so-and-so last week and they were okay, so I need to know what happened. Because you need to understand, you need to have a story. Okay, so this happened, then that happened, then that happened, and then that happened. Okay, and that's how they died. Otherwise, you will make it up. So don't be afraid to ask questions, as many questions as you need to, even if it's different questions to different people, but people you trust, okay, because you have the right to know what's going on, inshallah. And obviously let your parents or your uncles and aunties or your grandparents know what your worries are. If you are worried, because death can bring a lot of worry as well afterwards. Okay, so when my father died, lots of worries came into my head, and bizarrely enough, one of the worries was these particular shoes that I had, these white sandals I had bought for that Eid, because my dad died in Ramadan and Eid was coming. I had already done my shopping for Eid. And I was really afraid I wouldn't be able to wear these sandals. So as funny as it sounds, this is what kids are like. And I know you guys are a little bit older and you may have different kind of worries, but, be open with your worries to people who you can trust, who can ease your worries. And it's okay if at that point, it may not be your mom, it may not be your dad, because it all depends on who's died. So it may be a grandparent, it may be an aunt or an uncle or a neighbor or somebody you're close to. It may even be one of your friends' parents. But, let them know where your worries are as well. And it's okay that the way you are grieving is different to everybody else. So you may see that everybody is crying and, they may be besides themselves, and you're there and you're thinking, should I be pretending to cry? Is this what's expected of me? No. Grief isn't just about crying. Grief can be expressed in so many different ways. What my advice will be to you is just be real to yourself. If you feel like crying, cry. If you don't feel like crying, you just feel like, I just need to lie down. Yeah, and that's okay. If you feel like, I need to take my pencils out, I need to draw, okay? Because this is me, you know, because we can express ourselves through drawing, through writing, through moving our body. That could be like, I need to go out and kick a ball, you know, I need to go out and, you know, I need to do something physical. So don't, you know, feel that just cry, because the adults will just cry and it can make us feel guilty, think, oh, I should be crying, or they're expecting that of me. But it's not the case. Grief can be expressed in so many different ways. Inshallah. Okay, and there's some obviously cultural and generational beliefs and differences, which I will briefly explain to you just to make you aware, is that, you know, your grieving will be different to the way, like I just said, the way your parents grieve or grandparents grieve or the elders in the room, the way they grieve, and that's okay, all right? And just because somebody is crying loud, it could even be one of your cousins who's the same age as you, doesn't mean he or she is feeling it more than you, because you are a silent mourner. So silent mourner is somebody who's a bit quiet and doesn't feel like they need to express how they're feeling openly. So the level of how much somebody is crying doesn't show the level of like, oh my God, it's like, this is my dad who's died and my cousin's crying more than me. Doesn't matter. Like I said, crying isn't the only expression of grief. And if people like, sometimes the elders can make you feel like, or make you feel like, oh, look at, you know, so and so, she's crying more and she's affected more, and her other sister doesn't even care, look, she's just sitting there. And these are really uncomfortable comments, but don't let them affect you, because the elders don't understand, you know, they've got their own way, bless them, of seeing grief, and their grief is usually crying. Okay, if you told them like, I want to go in color, they're going to say, are you crazy? Come and sit down. You're not going to go in color. Or, you know, we're mourning at the moment. It's, we don't do things like that. But just what I want you to do is accept that we grieve differently, as in you, not me, as in you will grieve differently, and the elders will grieve differently, and that's okay. All right. And when they say things like, you know, like, or even if you were sitting there and having, you're feeling really sad, next minute you were giggling with your cousins, and they may say, oh, look at you, you know, can't you see your so-and-so is dying? You know, just go quiet. Don't be disrespectful to them, because this is their understanding of grief. But that doesn't mean that you need to mirror that, okay, or model that you need to do it the same as them. You need to be organic and authentic with your grief, and that means that just allow it to come out the way it's coming out, inshallah. I just want to mention one other thing on this, is that sometimes you will notice, you know, people coming to your house and saying, look, it's okay, have sabr, you know, they've gone back to Allah. And sabr is something which is active, okay? It's not just like you may think, well, what does sabr mean? That must mean that I just need to sit there quietly and I just need to accept and not be sad. No, sabr means I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed to feel all the feelings we've spoken about, but also that means I just accept the decree of Allah. I can carry on doing things. I cannot do things when I don't want them. This is all sabr, okay? It's practical. But when the elders sometimes say, it may seem like it's a word like you need to have sabr. Well, what does sabr mean? So to explain to you that sabr means processing all of it, all right? And, you know, physically and emotionally, just knowing that I'm very sad, but I understand this is from Allah. I don't feel like doing anything today, but that's okay, because I'm feeling, you know, not great and sad. Oh, today I do want to go out with my friends, or I do want to chat with my friends, and another day I don't. This is all sabr, okay? It's not just, sabr doesn't mean just shush and just sit there and say, yeah, you know, I'm accepting this is the decree of Allah. And obviously there's examples of losses, like in the stories of the prophets. So when Yaqub alayhi salam lost Yusuf alayhi salam, when his brothers plotted against him and obviously threw him in the well, Yaqub alayhi salam was crying for such a long time that, you know, he lost his sight because he cried so much. And even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when his son Ibrahim died, or I think it was at the burial, and one of the Sahaba said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Oh, Prophet of Allah, you are crying, you know. And the Prophet said, yes, the eyes are sad, and the eyes will like shed something along the lines, the eyes will shed tears, the heart is sad, but the tongue doesn't utter anything that displeases Allah. So what that means is that we're allowed to cry, we're allowed to feel the sadness, but our tongue, as in, we don't say, oh Allah, why did you do this to me? You know, I hate this. We don't say things like that. Okay, so that is also sabr. Okay, inshallah. So protection and co-protection. So you know, when somebody is you've had a death in the family, and sometimes what happens is that we start protecting each other because we don't want to upset each other. So sometimes what can happen is that the children don't want to, for example, you know, if you've lost a parent, I'll give an example of if you've lost your dad, for example, and you may want to protect your mom, thinking, I'm not going to cry in front of mom because I don't want mom to be sad. And the mom may be thinking, I don't want to cry in front of my children because I don't want them to be sad. The thing is, the truth is, you all are sad and you've all lost somebody. So trying to protect one another isn't the right thing to do. I would be open enough and brave enough to be sad in front of each other, because you're teaching each other that it's okay, that we can go through this as a family. We don't have to protect each other, because essentially nobody is protecting each other. You're just delaying the process of this grief. You know, you need somebody to talk to. Your mum, dad, whoever is there needs someone to talk to. But as a family, don't build this wall where I can't say in front of my mum because I don't want to make her sad. Mum is sad anyway. And when mum thinks, I don't want to say this for my children, I'm going to make my children sad, the children are sad anyway. So being as a young person yourself, opening that up, you know, with your parents, to be able to grieve openly as a family and not protecting each other. Okay, and you don't, it's not going to do any benefit for anybody. It will only delay the process. Okay, so complicated grief is when you lose somebody. When you lose somebody and it was a difficult relationship with that person, or it may have been a traumatic death, maybe somebody who died in an accident, or somebody who committed a suicide. You know, that can be complicated grief. But the part I want to touch on is that when you've lost somebody to death who maybe you weren't getting on with, and so, for example, imagine you weren't getting along with your cousin, and you haven't spoken to her for maybe 2 years now. Maybe the families don't get on or something. And then she died. Okay. And then you're almost like angry and think all these feelings have come up. You're thinking, why? I didn't even get on with her. I wasn't talking to her. Why am I feeling so sad? But the thing is, the reason why you're feeling sad is because now, where there was once upon a time an opportunity that inshallah things will get better, and hopefully we'll be able to, we might mend things and work things out. Now all that opportunity to repair my relationship with this person has gone. So that can bring all kinds of grief for you, thinking you're angry at that person, thinking, great, you know, you're gone and you've left me with all these feelings now. What am I going to do with this? So again, when something like that happens, because I want you to be prepared that these things can happen in life. You know, talk to somebody. You know, make sure you talk to somebody about it. Don't try to cover it up, thinking, yeah, but I wasn't getting on with her anyway, so it would sound stupid if I was to tell somebody that I now feel like this. No, your feelings are right. If you are feeling like that, speak to somebody you trust. That, you know, I feel really angry and sad that I thought, even though I didn't get on with her, I thought maybe one day things will just work out. But now she's not there and we'll never be able to work things out. And make dua for that person. You know, make dua for that person, that Allah unites you with that person in Jannah. That if you didn't get to repair now, you know, the fact that you're making that dua to Allah, Allah knows your intention, and that you do want to repair this relationship, and you did want to, so, and make dua for that person's, the fact that that person enters Jannah, inshallah. Okay, unresolved grief. So, you know, it's so easy just to be able to think that I'm not going to express my grief, or I don't know how to do it, and I'm just going to carry on and sort of block it because it's too much for me at the moment. By the way, please do let me know how much time I've got. There's not a lot left, but I don't want to be going over the time. So please do obviously let me know, admin, if I'm going over time. So unresolved grief is, so remember, if you don't process grief in a healthy way, so what I was saying, all those feelings that come, they're normal, they can take their time. Sometimes you can hover between, oscillate between the grief orientation and the rest orientation. Boys and girls can grieve differently. The protection bit and not protecting, all this kind of stuff. If you don't grieve properly, it will catch up with you later on in life. Okay, because you've sort of trapped that grief in your body. And our body keeps a score. It remembers everything that we've gone through. So my advice to you, to protect your futures, right? Because in the future, it will come out in many, it could come out in addiction or crime or unsociable behavior, is to go through all the grieving process. Don't even be like, well, I'm a boy, I'm not going to grieve. I've just given you examples of the prophets where they've grieved. So, or somebody thinking, I better not grieve in front of somebody else because I need to protect them. We need to stop this protecting. We need to be open so we can grieve healthily, and we allow the other person to grieve in a healthy manner as well. Otherwise, like I said, unresolved grief is like when you push your way, I don't want to deal with it, I don't know how to deal with it. Okay, and I will teach you. I'll teach you how to deal with the grief, inshallah. Okay, I want to quickly touch on COVID deaths. I'm so sorry, there's so many papers here. It's because I couldn't find my stapler today, so I've got all my papers individually. COVID deaths. So many people have recently experienced deaths to COVID, and in this time, it's probably one of the worst deaths to experience. It could have happened so suddenly. It could have happened where you didn't get to spend the last moments with that person, you didn't get to say goodbye, and this can bring all kinds of feelings as well. Okay, and it's a very sad grieving as well, and an isolated grieving because we're not allowed to meet. So it's not like all your usual relatives are there to comfort you, your friends are there, and all the people who are important to you are there. You can't. So, that can bring all these isolation up, and feelings of isolation and feelings of like the grief could be like multiplied, like the feelings could be multiplied, and that's okay. All right. So allow those feelings to come. Don't block them, even if they look different to previous grievings. Like when so and so died, I was okay, but this time I seem to be all over the place. It's okay. Okay, and one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that remember, one death can trigger other losses. Okay, so when you lost, for example, I'll tell you something really funny actually. When my mum died, and one of my daughters was crying, and she suddenly it wasn't when my mum died. When her hamster died, she was crying hysterically, and then she couldn't stop talking about Nani, as in her grandma. And she goes, and I said, do you remember when Nani died and you got over it? She goes, no, I didn't. It'll never be the same. And so one loss can bring about all the other losses as well, and that's normal as well. Sometimes it takes one loss to. I think when my uncle died, when my dad died, I think I grieved my father then, okay, because I was old enough to. But I know for sure that when my mum died, I was grieving at that point both my mum and dad. So that's normal as well, okay? And coming back to COVID, so it's not a nice situation, feeling that you didn't get to say that last goodbye to that, your loved one, but just know that it was beyond your control, okay? There was nothing you could have done about it. This was Allah's plan. And that can help you feel a bit better that, to be honest, there was nothing I could have done about it. This was how it was written, for this person. And be open to like reaching out to other people, who've experienced similar loss at the moment, because so many people have. And you may feel comfort in that, talking to somebody and knowing that I'm not the only one feeling this. Inshallah. Okay, I want to touch on, can someone tell me how much time? Okay, inshallah. So I'll try to work through a bit more quicker now. Okay, very quickly then, anticipatory grief is grief when, for example, your loved one, could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be aunt, uncle, grandparent, has an illness that that they will die of. Okay, so for example, they have cancer, or they have an illness which they will die of, or they have something like dementia or Alzheimer's. So where you've lost that person. So before I could sit there and have open conversations with my granddad, and he would respond back. Now granddad is not that same person. So this kind of anticipatory grief it's a strange one. So you will probably first almost feel like I've already lost my granddad, because my granddad doesn't, respond the way he used to. And then when that person dies, you may feel like, well, am I grieving the person who granddad was before he had dementia or Alzheimer's, or am I grieving him now for who he was? Whichever way it works for you, you may feel you're grieving too, the granddad before the granddad now. Or it may feel like I'm just grieving, one person. It doesn't matter which way. It will be different for everybody. But that final death would totalize both losses. And it does feel like two losses. And that's okay. Okay, so let's move on to things that can help. So this is more for somebody who's in the anticipatory grief. So when somebody's going to die, or someone's got cancer or dementia or something like that, where you've lost them, is ask obviously friends and family for help around the house, as much as emotional support. This would be more probably with your parents, but you could encourage your parents to do that. Try to live for the moment and focus on what you can still do. Like great granddad can still smile, and occasionally has a laugh, and and he sits with me in the garden. He doesn't talk, he keeps talking about old things, and that's okay. So just cherish the moments you do have, and keep a journal and write down your feelings. So I bought, just wanted to show you guys that I love journaling. I journal like almost every day. Journaling is really healthy. So, write a journal of your feelings, okay? And that's healthy. And obviously, appreciate what your loved one still does have. Okay, so how can I help someone who has been bereaved? So, for example, how can I help my cousin who's lost her mom, or my uncle who's lost his wife, or something like that? So sometimes we're scared of like, reminding that person. So it's like, I better not talk about the person they've lost. But to be honest, that person is always in their mind. So it's okay to start off talking to them and see if that helps. And if you see that the person's avoided the subject, just don't carry on. But just be there for them. Be make it about them. Be there for them. Listen to them. If it's your cousin who's lost a parent or someone close to them, just be there. It's the best thing you can do. Youngsters always feel like, but what shall I do? What do I do? And I say this to my kids as well. Just listen to them. Just be there to listen to them. That's the best thing they need. Take them out for walks if you can. Go and spend time with them. Be there for a long time. Don't just be there for the first 2-3 days and the next minute you've disappeared. Be there for them. Snapchat them, wherever you guys use on whatever kind of social media you guys use, or communication, shall I say. You guys be there for them. Send them messages. Send them nice emojis, and cheer them up, because they will really appreciate it, inshallah. And finally, how can I help myself? So with yourself, make sure that you show the same compassion that you'll be showing for your cousin. So if you lost somebody, make sure you are gentle with yourself. Don't like self-attack and all this critical thoughts about yourself, like why did this happen, or I should be over it now, I shouldn't know. Just take your time in your grief, okay? And it's horrible, isn't it? Nobody wants to go through death, but it's something we all will experience. You may have conflicting thoughts, and again, like I said, journal. Get a journal, write them down. It's okay to have conflicting thoughts. Allow all your emotions to come out. Go out for a walk. If you like kicking a ball, kick it. If you like punching something, punch. Seriously, don't punch people though. And talk to people who you trust. Talking is a great, it's really healing. And use your, like I said, grief doesn't have to be just expressed through crying, drawing, moving your body, painting, poetry, or anything. And also you can create a memory box of your loved one. So if you lost a parent or grandparent, create a box with all their like their special memories that you have of them. Create that box of memories with them, about them. And even within that, you could write little postcards about your memories with them. Like, I remember on this day, we did this together, and put that postcard in there. Another day, you could even write something to them. I really miss you, Granddad. And, even though when you were here, I was really busy at that time because I was doing my GCSEs or whatever, but I really, write it, because you are processing your feelings, inshallah, by doing that. And I think that is it, inshallah. So if there are any questions, I am more than happy to take. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and come back to you guys. And I'll
start journaling. What would that be?
Sure. And that's a great question. So journaling, I understand that sometimes when we are in a family, we do feel like, oh my God, you don't want people to read through your journal. Okay, so you can do it in a few ways. First of all, you could journal on, if you've got a device, for example, like electronic device, you can journal on there where somebody may not read. That's one thing. You could journal and throw away the papers. You could even do it like that if you feel you don't want to keep it. But you could journal in a way where, the way I journal is I always date, date and time first. And then I start with my feelings first. And sometimes my goals for today and how this went or how that went. Like today, I'll probably journal how this went. You could use certain code words that maybe only you will understand. And that might be a good way of, so if somebody opened it, they may not be able to understand everything, but what you've journaled in there. So I do understand that even with my own clients, as they are adults and they have that fear as well, what if somebody finds this journal and reads it? So either write it and get rid of it, because that's also a release, or write it in certain ways that you don't want people to completely be able to decode it or understand what it was that you were writing.
Also, it's one of those things where the information you've given, mashallah, is really useful for people to go back now and actually think through things. And what I would say to all of the students as well is that Sister Samina, she's always in touch with us. She always does courses with us as well. So we have her contact details as well. So if you do think of any other questions over the weekend or over the next few days, I'm sure she'll be more than happy to answer any questions you've got. Get back to us as well. I know you get busy, sis, but inshallah.
Inshallah. And I think I'm glad that you said that, Bilal, because sometimes children, it's such a difficult topic, and it's our shyness as well. I don't want everyone to read my question, or I don't want this answered here. And sometimes things may come up afterwards. But there was one question, which is what kind of surahs, I think, or can be read for I think grief. I don't know how to access the questions, but I was going to say Surah Yusuf. Read it with the translation. It's one of the best surahs to read when you read the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and how he went through grief, and how, what his story was like, and how he processed it all. So Surah Yusuf is a brilliant one. It's in Surah Ishra.
Jazakallah.